Hello and welcome to the Christ Lutheran Church Sermon Podcast. This is Matthew Best. I serve as pastor of Christ Lutheran Church in Allison Hill in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Thanks for being here. If today's message connects with you and what you're going through, brings you inspiration, or offers connection with God, I ask you to please stay on after the message for just a few moments to learn ways to connect with the congregation and the health ministries that we offer. And now, let's dive into God's Word. Our reading today comes from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 24. But on the first day of the week, at early dawn, they went to the tomb, taking the spices they had prepared. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they went in, they did not find the body. While they were perplexed about this, suddenly two men in dazzling clothes stood beside them. The women were terrified and bowed their faces to the ground. But the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but has been risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be handed over to the hands of sinners and be crucified, and on the third day rise again." Then they remembered his words, and returning from the tomb, they told all to the 11 and all to the rest. Now it was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and the other women with them who told this to the apostles. But these words seemed to them like idle tale, and they did not believe them. But Peter got up and ran to the tomb, stooping and looking in. He saw the linen clothes by themselves. Then he went home, amazed at what had happened. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So the world feels like it's falling apart around us. Anybody shocked by that? No. And you can look around and you can see lots of things going on, and it feels a bit overwhelming. And in many ways, this is what most of human history has experienced, which is we've gotten a reprieve from this maybe in a little bit in the last few years, last few decades. But if you think about this, there's a war going on in Ukraine. It's been going on for 3+ years at this point. Doesn't seem to be an end in sight. It's very nice that Vladimir Putin decided to have a six-hour truce to celebrate Easter. Whatever. Way to celebrate Easter, keep a war going. Gaza is a mess. Israel is a mess. Hostages, civilians dying, it's a mess. There's another mass shooting. I don't know how many mass shootings we've had in the last 25 years, besides far too many. Climate disasters, floods, fires, droughts, you name it. They become more normal or more often. You got a growing trade war that's squeezing the global economy. Immigrants and asylum seekers disappear, detained, deported without dignity or trial. Book bans, censorship, disinformation, despair. There's a lot, right? And just this week, the governor's mansion here in Pennsylvania suffered from arson. That's not even counting all of the mental health challenges that we face. Did I bring you down far enough? Sorry. That's why we start the sermon this way, and we always end with good news, right? And it's a long list, but it's also real. That's what's going on. That's just a small list. I actually had ChatGPT help me create that list, because I was like, I don't even know what to list. And it helped me come up with that, right? And I'm sure it could have kept going. The world is groaning under the weight of violence and cruelty and fear and division and control and despair and hopelessness. It's groaning. How could it not? Feels like the stone is still covering the tomb, keeping Jesus contained in a box, not unleashed into the world. Our question oftentimes when we see all this stuff is, where in the world is Jesus? Where is God in the midst of all this? That's the key question for every time a sermon should be delivered. Where's God in the midst of this? I think this is what the women were probably feeling when they went to the tomb on that Easter morning, some 2,000 years ago. We hear about it in our story here in the gospel reading in Luke 24. You think about this. There's grief, there's fear, there's shock, there's amazement. It's got all the emotions in there. The world has done its worst. It looks like death has won. And the women arrive. The stone has been rolled away. I can't even imagine. That's like going to visit a relative's grave and the ground is torn up and the casket's open. I think we'd all be a little freaked out. Where's our loved one? This is what the women are experiencing. They're going to the tomb expecting death. They're expecting a body in the tomb. They're bringing spices. This is part of what they do to prepare the body. There's a whole process that they go through. Not hope. They come prepared to weep and to mourn, not to be transformed. It's the third day, just as Jesus had told them, but they're still living like it's Friday. We hear in the reading, the women were terrified when they get there because two men in dazzling clothes stood beside them. Of course they were terrified. When the women are sent back and they go back and they tell the apostles, they're told these words seemed like an idle tale. They did not believe them. The men didn't believe the women. I know we have this whole thing where there are some Christian denominations that think that women should not be preachers. And I don't know how you match that up with the story. The women were sent to go and proclaim. But we still have this challenge where women's voices are silenced, not believed. And even Peter, he gets up, he runs to the tomb, he looks in, he saw the linen clothes, then he went home. Amazed. He didn't know what to make of it. This is not a sanitized Easter morning. It's not it's not like what we just had, right? It was a beautiful morning here that we've experienced. But the first Easter was confusing. Extremely confusing. Resurrection didn't happen every day. It was fearful. The stone was gone and no one knew what to make of it. It was real life without instructions, and they were wondering, where is Jesus? We live in a world where we keep asking, where's Jesus? Where there's a lot of fear and confusion, not understanding what's going on. There's fear of violence, of change, fear of people have fear of one another. We live in a time where truth is, oh Lord, who knows? Divisions run deep, where it almost feels like we live in different universes. And if we're honest, it can feel like Jesus is absent, like hope has gone missing, like the tomb is still closed. The tomb in Luke was supposed to contain Jesus. The empire crucified him to eliminate a threat to its power. And the religious authorities tried to silence him to protect their own standing and their own power. There's a whole lot going on there. It's all an attempt to control God, to put God in a box, bring him out when it's convenient. But Easter isn't about God fitting into our expectations, fitting into a box.
like Jesus staying in the tomb, or giving Herod, if you recall the story from last Sunday, Jesus is sent to Herod, and Herod is like, oh, do a little magic show for me. I've been looking forward to this. Well, nope. Jesus ain't going to do that either. He just stood there. Or Pilate. He wanted answers. Jesus didn't give it to him. Or the temple authorities. They wanted to maintain the status quo. All those in supposed positions of power. They didn't have power over him. The tomb couldn't contain Jesus. The empire couldn't control Jesus. The religious system couldn't silence Jesus. Resurrection is God's no to the powers of death. No to an upside-down world that tries to keep it that way. And it's God's yes to a world transformed, to a world that is right-sided, turned back the way it's supposed to be, the way that God created it. Resurrection is not a return to what was. It's not a rewind or a do-over. It's not nostalgia. You have to go through death in order to get to resurrection. And death sucks. It's painful. But when you do, everything changes. Or maybe better, it's not just change, it's transformation. It's hopeful. It's life-giving. We learn, and this can be scary, that we are not in control and that we've never been in control. Because only God can do resurrection. We can't. Resurrection is the beginning of something new, a new age that has started, something that can't be orchestrated or managed or controlled, something that grows wild and is unrestrained. What if resurrection isn't just something that happened then only to Jesus, but something that continues today? I want to share a little bit of some history here. I don't know how much of you know the history of Christ Lutheran Church. Some of you have been here longer than others, right? The church was founded in 1890 in this community. You're sitting in the second sanctuary. The sanctuary was constructed in 1920. There's a model of the first sanctuary. It's down in the council room if you want to take a look at it. That's what the first sanctuary looked like. And the congregation grew, and so they outgrew the size and all that, and this is why this was constructed, the beautiful structure. And it kept growing. Congregation grew to 3,000 members. 3,000. Take that in for a minute. 1960. 3,000. I can't even fathom that. I don't think I've ever been in a church that had 3,000 people. Maybe St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City or the National Cathedral. I maybe have been in something like that. I don't know if you've ever seen this. There are little nooks and crannies around all of this church where there are historical items that I keep saying when I have time, I'm going to create a little museum or something. So I found a couple of things I want to share with you. These are the minutes of the Lutheran Ministerial Association that go back to 1914. Look at the handwriting. These are historical documents. They're amazing. They tell about all sorts of, there's stories in here, right? About what was going on in this congregation and what was going on in the community. People living faithfully. This is what is this? This is the record of council meetings. 1926. It's all sorts of stuff. You got a balance, you got collections, all the stuff that we still do today, just handwritten. Looks like something Indiana Jones would pick up. And no computer, although they did have a typewriter. This is 1927. Again, people being faithful to the call that is here. All these years. There's all these wonderful anniversary services, in here, the Golden Jubilee 50th anniversary service in 1940 in here, right? And I also found the 75th anniversary. One of these has a picture of a woman who was the last living member of the original group that founded the church. She was 106 at the time of the picture. It's pretty incredible. And you can see there's different places where there's plaques, like there's some plaques around the back over here. This is one of my favorite things. I have a picture. There's two of these. Now, when I see this, let me tell you what this looks like, and I'll tell you who this is. This looks to me like a picture of a seminary or university president, right? It's what it looks like. Or a banker, yeah, I could see that, or CEO of a corporation or whatever. This is Harry Smeltzer, and it says, beloved supervisor of Sunday school. Sunday school, right? It tells, all of these tell a story about how the church was, right? And they were being faithful in that time. And that's beautiful, and that's great, right? That's part of the history of this congregation. Why do I talk about all this? That's not who we are anymore. It's not that was bad. It's what was and what needed to be at that time. And it was faithful. But that died. That died. And when I look around, now, we're in the resurrection of this congregation. I'll tell you, back in that time, this was not a diverse congregation. There are folks who wouldn't be here. A lot of different folks who wouldn't be here at that time. That died. Things have to die in order for resurrection to happen. Resurrection is transformation, it's change. It's better. We have challenges. We got plenty of challenges. My gosh, the lights aren't working. That's why we have all the candles out. Yes, it's Easter and, it's celebratory and all that, but the reality is the lights aren't working. They died on Good Friday, except the lights didn't come back. They weren't resurrected, unfortunately. We've got plenty of challenges. This is a community that's challenged, right? It's a challenged community. There's a reputation. We all know that. But I will tell you, there's so much beauty. There is so much that goes on in this community, that goes on in this church, that if we want to ask, where is Jesus? Oh my gosh. Jesus is here all the time. Jesus is here in this community of Allison Hill all the time. Again, 1960, 3,000 members, and then it went down to 7. Some of you are here from those original 7. In 1990, and a pastor was sent here to shut it down because it's a big building, 7 people. Even Jesus had more people than that, right? And Jesus didn't have a building. Jody Siliker, she was a nurse. She spent time with you all on Sundays, and then she would do nursing. And then she would go down the street to St. Francis, gave her space, and do community health. Did that for a number of years. Came back to the church because they needed the space. And essentially, the question was, there's a need and we have space, what do you want to do? And the answer was, let's start the health ministries. Not having any idea of what that meant, right? Yeah, you didn't know what that was going to look like. But there was faith. The idea that the congregation would ever be 3,000 members again died. All that stuff that I showed you was beautiful, and it died. And there had to be mourning so that they could be fully present and know what the future of the congregation, where Jesus was taking this congregation. Resurrection continues on to this day. You got the health ministries. Resurrection looks like neighbors getting access to care. Looks like communities coming together. It looks like God showing up in places people give up on. And it's happening now, not something that happened a long time ago. We're in the resurrection. So what does resurrection look like? Where is Jesus in our midst? Every time that we experience hope, when we encounter hope, there's Jesus. Where there's healing, there's Jesus. That's what Jesus has always been up to, healing and hope. I've used this stat before. Since 2018, we've had over 100,000 visits. 100,000 visits. Let that sink in. I don't know how many other churches can say the same thing. It's a lot. A lot of people who have experienced healing and hope in all of its forms. Our other partners, like Power to the Hill, offer hope and healing through voter engagements and registration drives, delivering light bulbs to our neighbors, providing social justice healing and hope. We work with many other organizations here in Allison Hill because there's no way that we can do this on our own. We're all in this together, caring for neighbors, offering hope and healing, a new start for many. We partner with folks, there's a whole range of folks like CCU, Christian Churches United, Joshua House, the Catholic Worker House, Brethren Housing, First Church of the Brethren, Gather the Spirit, so many others who do a wide range of things to help and be with neighbors. This congregation has grown and seen new life. Remember, I said there were 7 in 1990. If you look around, there's more than 7 people. It's beautiful. And when I go around to different synod events, I brag about we are the most diverse congregation in the synod in every way that you can think of. It's not even close. The only other congregation I can think of that may be close is Union down in York, because they're in a similar setting. So diverse in terms of race, sexuality, gender, language, socioeconomic level, and more. In worship here, there is hope and there is healing. This is what Easter is all about. Disrupting the cycles of violence and cruelty and despair, hopelessness, and unleashing hope and healing. Rolling away the stone that keeps all creation entombed in injustice and oppression. Easter is not a return to what was, regardless of whether it was good or not good, but a beginning of something new that we didn't even know was possible. The stone is rolled away. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Resurrection is real, and it's now. And the story is still being written right here and right now, and you're all a part of it. Thanks be to God.
Thank you again for listening to the Sermon Podcast. I'm always happy to have a conversation or pray with you. Please reach out either by email to pastor@christharrisburg.org or call me at 717-236-8382. I'd also invite you to be part of worship on Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m. We're a very diverse, open, affirming, and laid-back congregation. Christ Lutheran Church is located at 124 South 13th Street in Harrisburg. Parking is along the street. You can enter the building through the side entrance on South 13th Street, We're at the corner of 13th and Thompson Streets. And lastly, check us out on the web. Our website is christharrisburg.org. There you can learn more about and offer your support for the congregation as well as the health ministries and free clinics that we provide to people in need in our neighborhood. I invite you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram also at Christ Lutheran Harrisburg. Thank you. I look forward to connecting with you, and I pray that you have a blessed week.